Have you ever wondered how close you've come to danger without even realizing it? At Shivering Vault, we take you there, one story at a time. But before you drift off, consider liking this video, commenting where you're watching from and at what time, and subscribing to keep these chilling stories coming. Now, let's dive into these unsettling tales. This happened about 3 years ago when I was in college down in rural Texas. I went to a small school that a lot of people probably haven't heard of, one of those little towns that's really just a college, a few gas stations, and a couple diners where all the locals go. You drive 10 minutes in any direction, and it's just fields or woods or whatever. I used to like it out there. Quiet, simple, no traffic. Anyway, back then I was pretty reckless. I wasn't a bad kid or anything, just dumb and bored a lot. Me and my two buddies, Ryan and Mark, used to try and come up with ways to kill time. We weren't into parties much, so we'd find other stuff to do. Driving out to old back roads, exploring abandoned buildings, sneaking beers out to some field, and making a fire to sit around. Stuff like that. This one night, we got it into our heads to go camp out in this big orchard on the edge of town. We weren't going to steal anything or mess stuff up. We just wanted somewhere quiet to hang out, drink a little, and tell dumb stories like always. The orchard was huge. I'm talking rows and rows of pecan and peach trees, just stretching out forever. I'd driven past it a few times and always wondered how far back it went, but I never saw anybody out there. No signs, no fences on one side, just trees. Ryan said he thought it was private property, but Mark was like, dude, nobody even lives around here, and we're not doing anything bad. So we figured it'd be fine. Just a quick in and out, have our night, no one would even know we were there. We parked Ryan's truck down a dirt road about a quarter mile from the orchard and walked the rest of the way in, carrying a couple sleeping bags, cheap little cooler, and one of those fold-out campfire grills. It was around 9:30 or 10 when we got there, and the sky was that perfect deep blue right before it goes pitch black. There was no moon that night, or if there was, it was hiding behind clouds. We found this little clearing between two rows of trees where the ground wasn't too uneven, and set up our stuff. Mark had brought a little Bluetooth speaker, and we played some quiet music while we cracked open a few beers and lit a small fire with some wood we gathered. Nothing big, just enough to see each other and keep warm. The air smelled like dirt and tree bark and smoke, and for a while, it was actually a pretty good night. We were laughing, talking about stupid stuff from school, sharing dumb stories about girls or professors or whatever. I remember feeling like we were in our own little hidden world. You couldn't see the road, or the stars even, just darkness and trees in every direction. I think that's what made it so creepy later. You realize how isolated you really are, and suddenly the same place that felt fun and secret starts feeling like a trap. It was probably close to midnight when we first heard it. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, a soft sound like something far off in the distance. Then it came again. Barking. Faint, but sharp. Not just one dog either, it sounded like 2 or 3. All barking, pissed off. We all kind of stopped what we were doing. Mark muted the speaker, and Ryan looked around with this half smile like he was trying to pretend he wasn't nervous. Probably someone's house way off, he said. We're good. But then the barking got louder. Closer. Like they were moving. We put out the fire real quick, just dumped some water on it and covered it with dirt. The clearing went dark and we were just standing there, frozen, straining to hear. That's when we heard the engine. A low rumbling, maybe a truck or something, moving real slow. Then headlights, faint at first, then stronger, sweeping sideways through the rows of trees like a lighthouse, back and forth. It was like something out of a horror movie. "Shit, someone's out here," I whispered. We all dropped down, crouching low behind the trees. I could feel my heart beating in my throat. The flashlight beams were getting closer, and we could see now. It was a truck. One of those big old lifted ones with the metal rack on top. It rolled real slow down one of the orchard rows, and then it stopped. Engine still running. The door opened with this long, rusty creak, and a man stepped out. I'll never forget the way he looked. He had a flashlight in one hand, shotgun in the other. Real old school, like something your grandpa might have in a closet. He had this limp in his step, like he was dragging one leg slightly, and his boots made these heavy, deliberate thuds in the dirt as he walked. He started calling out, but it wasn't normal calling. It was loud and slurred, like he was drunk or angry, or both. "Where you at, huh? Come on out," he shouted. Then he whistled, and the barking exploded. The dogs were coming. We panicked. I remember Mark hissing something like, "We gotta go now," and then we just scattered. No plan, no direction, just running. I could hear branches snapping, leaves crunching under our feet. I stuck with Ryan, and Mark disappeared somewhere to the left. The trees seemed to close in on us, like we were running through a damn maze. I kept turning around, expecting to see that flashlight beam catching us in its glare. Then Ryan went down. I heard him cry out and turn back. He was on the ground, holding his ankle. He must have stepped wrong on a root or something. He looked up at me, face pale. "I can't walk, dude," he said, panicked. I didn't know what the hell to do. Leave him? Hell no. But we could hear the dogs. Closer now. Growling. Chains clinking. "Get up," I whispered. "Come on. Lean on me." I pulled his arm over my shoulder and started dragging him. He was trying to hop, but every other step he'd stumble and curse. My lungs were burning, and the orchard seemed to go on forever. Every row looked the same, and I had no clue where the fence was anymore. Then the shotgun went off. Loud as hell. It echoed through the trees, and I swear I felt the shockwave in my chest. We dropped down again, gasping, listening. No footsteps, no voice this time, just the low growl of those dogs getting closer. I pulled Ryan up again, and we moved. Slower now, desperate. I think at some point I started crying just from the panic. I was sure we were about to get mauled or shot or both. Then, through the trees, I saw it. The fence. A barbed wire fence just a few yards ahead. "We're almost there," I gasped. I don't even remember how we got over. I pushed Ryan up first and basically shoved him till he toppled over the other side. His jeans got caught on the barbs, and I heard them rip as he let out this horrible yell of pain. I climbed over right after, hands getting sliced, legs catching on the wire. We hit the ground on the other side and just laid there, panting. I kept looking back, expecting to see the man standing at the edge, shotgun aimed, but he never came through. His flashlight hovered for a bit, sweeping side to side, and then it started moving away. We didn't move for a long time, just lay there in the dirt. Mark found us maybe 20 minutes later, walking up the road with this wild look in his eyes. He was shaking, said he heard the gunshot, and just ran as far as he could till he lost sight of the lights. None of us went to the hospital or anything. Ryan said his ankle was just sprained. We didn't call the cops either. We just didn't want to talk about it. A few days later, we were in this little diner, and we heard these old guys at the next table talking about the orchard owner. Said his family had owned that land for generations and that people kept sneaking in at night to steal the fruit. Said he'd started patrolling with his dogs and a shotgun. We never told anyone it was us. I still think about it, though. We thought we were just being dumb college kids. Thought we'd sneak in, drink a little, have a story to tell, and we almost didn't make it out at all. I'm a college student in Texas, and this story happened to me last summer. It's the scariest thing that's ever happened in my life, and honestly, I still think about it more than I want to. To give you some context, I go to Texas State and was living in San Marcos at the time. That summer, I was cramming through one of those fast-track classes, just trying to clear a few credits. My girlfriend then, Chloe, was working at a coffee shop and pulling a lot of late shifts. Both of us were stressed out and tired all the time, and I kept telling her, "When this class is over, I'll take you somewhere nice. We need a break." When my class ended, I didn't plan anything fancy. I just thought it would be cool to take her somewhere out of the way, somewhere quiet, where we could just sit and watch the sunset without a bunch of people around. I remembered this one place my uncle had taken me when I was a kid. A stretch of coastline down near Corpus that wasn't like a beach, more like rocky bluffs and cliffs overlooking the Gulf. It wasn't a touristy area at all. I figured if we went there in the evening, we'd basically have the whole place to ourselves. So that's where I decided to take her. We left in the late afternoon, packed a couple bottles of water in a cooler bag, and drove south. The drive itself was long and boring, with stretches of nothing but marsh and brush. By the time we got near the coast, the road had turned to cracked asphalt, and we could smell salt in the air. I pulled off into a dirt clearing where it looked like other cars had parked before, but that day we were the only ones there. We started walking along a trail that wound toward the bluffs. At first, it was just dirt and rock, nothing unusual. After a few minutes, we climbed a rise, and then suddenly the Gulf opened up in front of us. Just endless water and the sound of waves smacking into rock. Chloe stopped and said, "Wow," under her breath. That alone made the drive worth it for me. We kept walking, following the trail as it curved along the cliffside. That's when we came to a chain-link fence stretched across the path. Zip-tied to it were a couple of old metal signs: private property and no trespassing. The fence looked like it had been there a long time, bent in places, the bottom loose where the ground had eroded away. Chloe stopped. "Guess that's it." But, of course, I didn't want to stop there. I could see that the trail kept going beyond the fence, and I swore I remembered that the best view was just a little further along. "It's fine," I told her. "Nobody lives out here. We'll just go past it for a few minutes, then come back." She looked uncertain. "It says no trespassing." "Yeah, but look," I said, lifting the sagging bottom edge of the fence. "People clearly crawl under this all the time. It's no big deal." She hesitated but finally sighed and ducked under. I followed, letting the metal clatter back down. Right away, the trail felt different, narrower. The drop to the water was closer. It didn't feel like a marked hiking trail anymore. It felt like we were walking somewhere we shouldn't. And then we started noticing things. First, a cluster of crushed soda cans, stomped flat. Then a tarp weighed down with rocks, its edges frayed by the wind. A little further along, 2 fire pits made of stones filled with black ash and half-melted foil. Chloe slowed down. "I don't like this." "It's probably just campers," I said, though I didn't really believe that. Then we saw it. Tucked into a shallow curve of the rock wall was a filthy sleeping bag, stretched out flat. A grocery bag was tied up like a pillow. Next to it was a loop of rope. Chloe grabbed my arm. "That's not camping trash, someone's living here." I forced a laugh. "Or they were. It's probably old." But I noticed the rope looked new, and my stomach felt heavy. That's when we heard it. Voices. At first it was muffled, like people arguing far away. Then it got clearer, harsh, angry tones echoing from further down the bluff, from what looked like a shallow cave tucked into the rock. Chloe froze. "Do you hear that?" I nodded, trying to act calm even though my chest had tightened. We stood there listening. The voices were definitely inside that cave. It wasn't friendly banter either. It was heated like a fight. I don't know why, but I whispered, "Let's just peek. Then we'll go." Before Chloe could respond, one of the voices boomed out, no longer muffled but sharp and furious. "Who the hell's out there?" We both froze, and then, from the dark mouth of the cave, a shadow moved. That was all I needed. I grabbed Chloe's hand and said, "Run." We took off back the way we came. The path was narrow, gravel sliding under our shoes, the drop to the ocean way too close for comfort. My backpack slammed against my back as I sprinted. Behind us, heavy footsteps pounded the rock. Someone was chasing us, and then another voice shouted from deeper inside the cave. There was more than one of them. "You shouldn't be here," the man behind us yelled. His voice was closer now. Chloe nearly lost her footing when a patch of rock crumbled under her. Stones tumbled down into the waves below. I yanked her up before she slipped further. My heart felt like it was punching through my ribs. I snatched up a loose rock and hurled it behind me without even looking. It clattered off the cliff wall, and for half a second, the footsteps stuttered. That was all the opening we needed. Up ahead, I saw the fence again. "There, go," I shouted. We dove under, scraping our arms and knees on the rocks. The second Chloe was through, I slid under and let the chain link drop with a metallic crash. And just like that, the footsteps stopped. Through the gaps in the fence, I saw him. A tall man in a dark shirt, head shaved, standing 20 feet away. He didn't come closer. He just stared. Then slowly, he raised a hand and pointed at us. I couldn't see his face clearly. The sun was behind him, but the gesture was enough to chill me to the bone. After a few seconds, he turned and walked back toward the cave. Neither of us said anything. We just ran back to the car, slammed the doors shut, and sped off without looking back. And then, a few days later, I saw a report on the local news. Authorities had cleared out a group of squatters living in the caves along those cliffs. They found stolen camping gear, makeshift weapons, even evidence from a string of robberies in the area. I felt sick when I heard that, because we hadn't just stumbled into someone's abandoned campsite. We'd walked right into the middle of whatever those people were doing out there. And the worst part, if we had been a little slower, or if Chloe had slipped, or if the man had decided to cross that fence, I don't think I'd be here telling this story. My name is Jason. I'm a sophomore at a college in Texas. I've been into making videos since high school. Nothing big, mostly random clips, little edits, short stuff I'd throw up on YouTube just for fun. Recently, though, I started getting into this whole urban exploration thing. I'd seen tons of channels where people sneak into abandoned malls or old hospitals or half-built places, and it just had this eerie cinematic vibe that drew me in. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some professional filmmaker or anything. Honestly, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. I just grab my phone, hit record, and kind of wing it. Anyway, this was back in late October. The weather was finally starting to cool off a little, which made the idea of sneaking around outside at night not completely miserable. There was this construction site I'd passed a few times on the edge of town, just this big skeleton of what was supposed to be an office building or something. I'd drive by and see the steel beams, the scaffolding, stacks of lumber, the whole thing just kind of looming over the road. At night, it looked even more unsettling. It always gave me this weird feeling when I looked at it, but at the same time, it seemed perfect for the kind of video I wanted to make. So one night, I decided I was going to do it. I parked my car about a block away because I didn't want anyone to notice a car sitting right next to the site and get suspicious. The area wasn't really busy, just some empty lots, a few scattered warehouses, and one streetlight that flickered like it was dying. I sat there for a minute in my car, kind of psyching myself up. I wasn't exactly scared yet, but I definitely had that tight feeling in my chest, like I knew I was about to do something I shouldn't. I stuffed my phone charger, wallet, and some random stuff into my backpack so it wouldn't look like I was just carrying a camera around. Then I grabbed my phone, opened up the camera app, and hit record. I figured even if I didn't get much, I could always just delete it later. The construction site was surrounded by one of those chain link fences with the "No Trespassing" sign zip-tied every few feet. Honestly, it wasn't very secure. I walked along the fence until I found a gap near the corner where it looked like someone had already bent the metal open just wide enough to squeeze through. I crouched down, slipped in, and just like that, I was inside. The air felt heavier the second I stepped onto the dirt lot. It wasn't windy, but the scaffolding creaked faintly above me, like it was adjusting itself. The moon was high enough that I could see most of the structure without needing my flashlight yet, and man, it looked way bigger up close than it ever did when I was driving past. I started whispering commentary into the camera, trying to sound casual. All right, guys, this place is huge. You can still smell the lumber like fresh cut wood. Nobody's supposed to be here right now. Stuff like that. I walked further in, crunching over gravel and dirt, and aimed my phone up at the exposed beams. They crisscrossed above me, just dark shapes against the lighter sky. There were unfinished staircases bolted to the frame, some covered in plywood, others just raw metal. All around me were stacks of lumber wrapped in plastic, pallets of bricks, and buckets half filled with rainwater. It didn't feel threatening, not at first. I kept filming, moving slow, pointing out random details for the video. My shoes scuffed against the concrete foundation as I walked further in, and the echo of it made me realize how quiet everything was. Not a single car on the road, not even crickets, and that's when I heard it. It was faint, so faint I thought I imagined it. A crunch, like something shifting on gravel or loose wood, except it didn't come from in front of me. It came from above, the second floor. At first, I froze. I literally stopped moving mid-step. My phone still up in front of me, camera recording, but my whole body just locked up. I was straining my ears so hard I swear I could hear my own heartbeat. That sound, it was small, just one crunch, like a shoe pressing into gravel or maybe a board shifting. But it hadn't come from where I was walking. It came from directly above me, somewhere on that second floor. I tried to rationalize it immediately because that's just how my brain works. I told myself maybe it was the building settling, maybe the scaffolding shifting against the wind, except it wasn't windy. I whispered into the phone, trying to play it cool, even though my voice cracked a little. I think I just heard something upstairs. Could be nothing, but yeah. I thought if I acted like I wasn't bothered, maybe I could convince myself. But then something else caught my eye. There was this long shadow stretching across the concrete floor in front of me. At first, I thought it was from one of the beams catching the moonlight, but the angle didn't make sense. The moon was behind me, not in front of me. The shadow was moving, just slightly, like it was swaying. I slowly tilted my phone upward, raising the flashlight with it. That's when I saw him, just for a split second. A man, standing completely still on the second floor, right at the edge of the frame. His body was half hidden behind one of the vertical beams, but I saw his face, or maybe not his whole face, but enough. Pale skin catching the light, his head angled down toward me. He wasn't moving, he wasn't making a sound, just standing there, watching me. I swear to God, my stomach dropped so fast I felt sick. It was like every nerve in my body fired at once. My first thought wasn't even, who is that? My first thought was just, I need to get out right now. I spun around so fast I almost tripped over my own foot. My backpack swung against my side and I nearly dropped the phone right then. And my brain was screaming at me to get back to that fence, to find the gap and crawl through. But here's the thing, when I was shoving my phone back toward my backpack, my hands were sweaty. Like slick. I was panicking so bad that I fumbled it. The phone slipped right out of my hands, smacked the concrete with this horrible clatter, and slid a few feet away from me. I didn't stop to pick it up. I just kept running. My sneakers slapped against the dirt and gravel as I tore across the lot, aiming straight for that corner of the fence. By the time I reached the gap and stumbled through it, my arms and legs were shaking so hard I thought they might give out. I sprinted across the empty lot toward where my car was parked, barely looking behind me. Only when I finally skidded to a stop by the street did it hit me. My phone. My phone was still back inside. For a solid minute, I just stood there, bent over with my hands on my knees, trying to catch my breath. I wanted to leave. Every single part of me wanted to just run back to my car, slam the doors shut, and drive home like nothing happened. But then the other part of me, the rational part, started screaming just as loud. That phone had everything on it. Not just my videos, but my contacts, my bank app, my school emails, passwords. If someone picked it up, they'd have access to all of it. And as much as I hated it, I knew I couldn't just leave it there. So, against every instinct I had, I turned back toward the construction site. Inside, it was dead silent. Even the scaffolding wasn't creaking anymore. I told myself, just grab the phone. Don't look around. Don't stop. Just grab it and get out. But as I started walking back toward the building, I realized I could hear something faint. Not loud enough to pinpoint, but enough that my brain immediately registered it as footsteps. I've never had my body argue with itself like that before. Every step I took forward, there was this equal and opposite part of me screaming to turn around and leave. My eyes kept darting to the corners of the building, the gaps in the scaffolding, anywhere someone could have been standing. My brain was on overdrive, throwing out explanations like maybe it was a homeless guy using the site for shelter, maybe it was another dumb kid trespassing like me, maybe it was even a security guard. None of those possibilities made me feel better. When I finally spotted my phone, I almost broke down with relief. It was lying face down on the dusty concrete just a few feet from where I'd dropped it. The screen was still lit faintly, recording, the flashlight pointed off at some random angle. The sight of it almost calmed me. I crouched down quick, snatched it up, and jammed it into my backpack without even stopping to check if the screen was cracked. I just needed it back with me. That's when I noticed the shadow. It stretched across the ground in front of me, long and distorted, like someone was standing at the far end of the building with the moonlight behind them. Something moved. I didn't see him directly, not at first. Just a flicker of movement as a shape slipped behind one of the steel beams. Not fast. Not like someone running away. More like someone calmly stepping out of sight. My stomach clenched so hard I thought I was going to throw up. I didn't think. I just ran. I bolted for the gap in the fence, my sneakers skidding on gravel, my breath tearing out of me in these awful ragged gasps. Behind me, I could hear it. Actual footsteps this time. Heavy, fast, pounding against the scaffolding. Someone was chasing me. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I just ran harder. The whole site seemed to close in on me as I darted between stacks of lumber and concrete blocks. I nearly slammed into a pallet as I cut the corner too sharp, scraping my leg against the edge of it. But I didn't stop. I finally spotted the bent section of fence. I dropped down, scrambled through the gap so fast the metal links scraped across my arms, and stumbled onto the empty lot outside. The sound of the footsteps stopped the second I cleared the fence. I didn't wait to see if anyone followed. I sprinted across the dirt lot, my backpack slamming against my shoulders until I reached my car. My hands were shaking so violently I almost dropped the keys trying to unlock the door. When I finally collapsed into the driver's seat and slammed the lock down, I just sat there for a minute, clutching the steering wheel, chest heaving. My whole body was buzzing like it was full of electricity. My phone was in the backpack. My car was locked and I was out. I told myself that was it. Even as I pulled out onto the road, my eyes kept darting to the rearview mirror. The construction site was shrinking in the distance, but I swore I could still feel eyes on me. When I got home, I just threw my backpack down and sat there for a long time. I didn't even bother looking at the video right away. I just tried to calm down. I haven't gone back there since, and honestly, I don't think I ever will. That's it for today's tale from Shivering Vault. If you have a story worth sharing, drop it in the comments or send it our way. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your fellow thrill seekers. As always, the Shivering Vault thanks you for unlocking today's tale. Until next time, the vault awaits your return.